Brought to you by Tailored Wealth, helping business leaders live their version of a rich life.
Welcome to another edition of the Making Sense of Your Money podcast, where we cut through the financial noise and help business leaders to make smart, confident money decisions. Okay, welcome to another edition of the Making Sense of Your Money podcast, where we cut through the financial noise and help business leaders to make smart, confident money decisions. I am your host, Dan Pascone, and once again, I'm the founder and CEO of Tailored Wealth. And each episode features a trusted voice from a different piece of the financial world, someone who works directly with high-level professionals to simplify the complex and turn strategy into action. And today, I'm excited to introduce and bring on a special guest. We've got Dorna Moini with us today, and Dorna is the founder and CEO of Gavel, and her firm specializes in and has a really nice legal tech platform. So Dorna, welcome to the show, and thanks for joining us.
Yes, Dan, thank you so much for having me. I'm a big fan and excited to be here talking to you and your audience.
Likewise, it's great to have you on. All right, so we've got a lot to cover, so I know that our audience wants to hear your take on a few different items, but before we get into it, why don't you just give us a quick 90-second overview of who you are, what your business does, and how you got into it?
Wonderful. I would love to. So yes, I'm Dorna. I'm the CEO and founder of Gavel. And before starting Gavel, I was actually a litigator at Sidley Austin, a big firm, and I was up in San Francisco. I didn't set out to start a software company, but during my practice at this firm, I was running into a lot of things that I felt could be solved through technology. And this was especially true in some of the pro bono practice I did. So I did a lot of commercial corporate litigation, but I also did a lot of pro bono work specifically with domestic violence survivors. And I was finding that we had so many clients coming in through the door and not enough time to serve them. And I was spending a lot of my time on the really what I call rules-based parts of the legal process. And I was realizing that I would be better off spending my time on the parts of the case that I really went to law school for. So really doing fact-intensive and legal-intensive research, taking the client to court, giving them counseling, and in legal speak, we call it practicing at the top of your license. It's the stuff that you went to law school for. So I thought, what if I could use technology to amplify myself so that I could really spend my time on the more important parts of the case? And again, I lived in San Francisco, so at the time I feel like all engineers lived in San Francisco.
Right.
And I got together with a friend of mine who was an engineer, and I said, will you help me build a software platform for this particular area of law, for domestic violence law? And we basically did that. We built something that was akin to TurboTax, but for domestic violence law, and would allow us to do all the early stages of the case automatically. We built in a ton of rules so that if you said these were the facts of the case, this is how the documents would be spit out. And we started, this platform became pretty popular, and we started getting a ton of interest from people, not just in the domestic violence arena, but from lawyers in other areas of law and in other jurisdictions. And what they were saying is, we want to build something like what you built for domestic violence law, but for other areas of law and other jurisdictions. And basically, make a long story short and fast forward to what is now Gavel. What Gavel is we don't specifically do anything with domestic violence law anymore, but we are a software platform. And as a lawyer, you can take any area of law, any jurisdiction, and you, as long as you have the expertise in your brain, you come and build that automation into our platform. And so Gavel is now an end-to-end automation suite. We do everything from gathering the information to the rules-based automation to the negotiating and redlining through more of a generative AI automation. And we can dive into all these terms and what they mean to the lawyer if you're interested, and because there's a lot to unpack there. But we're really a full end-to-end automation suite.
Well, I have several lawyers in my family, Dorna, so I can relate to how important that would be. And I love finding ways to add automation in my business. So I'm sure, and I'm sure attorneys, with the amount of time that they spend with their head down in this stuff, see a lot of value in it. So do me a favor, tell us a little bit about, obviously you serve the attorney community. Who is your ideal client? What types of attorneys, what types of law do they practice? What's typically their role? Tell us a little bit about your client.
Yeah, so we have law firms of all sizes on Gavel, but what we really target the most is small and mid-sized firms, and small and mid-sized firms in areas of law that are either rules-based or have a transactional component to them. So some of the areas that are most popular on our platform are estate planning, family law, corporate, and that's a pretty big, broad area, but really anything that's corporate transactional, and real estate. But then we have a sort of long tail of other areas of law where, as long as you can either, with the two parts of our platform, one is you can either use our platform by building out rules to determine how documents are going to be generated, or this newer component of our platform in the past year or so is the generative AI component for rewriting clauses, negotiating and drafting and redlining documents.
Got it. And are you typically engaging with an entire law firm? Is it on an attorney by attorney basis? Tell us a little bit about how you connect with folks and what that looks like from an engagement perspective.
Yeah, definitely. So as a software company, we have our sales motion is mostly what we call product-led growth. And what that means is that for those of your audience who might not know, we don't have a full outside sales team. We do have people on our customer team who guide and help our customers on onboarding, but most of our customers come in from people just hearing about us or finding out about us and trying it. So oftentimes we start with one or two or three stakeholders who are the advocates within a firm, whether they're just solo firms, so they're by nature the only person who's the decision maker, or they're smaller or mid-sized firms who are individuals who are starting to use the platform. And then they typically expand the platform within their firm. So it might be one particular group in a firm that starts using our platform, and then others get word of it being used and they expand. So we gradually grow within firms, but we typically start with one stakeholder.
Got it. I'm obviously very familiar with the SaaS space, as we have many clients in that space, but not so familiar with the sector that you target. So tell us a little bit about what makes your product unique and how you help your clients to achieve their desired outcome.
Yeah, definitely. So I would say that our product, the place where we really excel is being almost like a Goldilocks solution for a lawyer to be able to set up everything. There are platforms that are very powerful, but they typically require quite a bit of technical overhead and hiring someone technical to help you set it up. And then there are products that are very easy to set up, but they typically don't have a lot of robustness and power. And where we are is sort of that middle ground. We are a platform that is very easy. Like, you come onto the platform, it's very easy to understand how you set everything up. Especially now with our generative AI features, those are sort of just the click of a button and they sort of work for you. And you can you can actually chat with a lot of those components. But you also get a lot of power. So if there are pieces of automation that can be done through building out complex rules or by training a system, those are things that can be done with Gavel, because we really, really excel in the deep, complex documents. Obviously, you can use us for easy documents too, but if you are building out a full end-to-end automation suite, we can give you that power at a pretty low technical overhead.
Very cool. Very cool. Makes a lot of sense. What do you think and what do you find with the attorneys that you work with? What are the top 3 challenges that they face, and how does your product help them to overcome them?
Yeah. So one, I would say, is that a lot of the world is changing for attorneys, and really for a lot of knowledge work, the world is changing. And we've had a few of these big phases of change, of pandemic throwing us into working from home and doing things in a very different way. And then the AI wave, just really pushing people to use technology more.
Yep.
And the pricing models have become so much more competitive, especially at the smaller and mid-sized firms, and really all the way across the top. But pricing has become much more competitive. So lawyers are trying to decide, how can I be more efficient? Not because I just want to be more efficient, but because I actually want to generate more revenue. Right. Because I'm now starting to price on value-based pricing. So figuring out how to do that end to end is really necessary in the legal world. That's one. 2 is client side. So as a lawyer, you have many clients. They're consuming information in a different way. They're communicating with service providers in a different way, and they need a platform on which they can do that. And so that's another thing that our platform helps a lot with is clients can enter their data into the platform. They can create their own little profiles. You could see the data that they enter, and there can be that exchange. So having a more seamless interaction with the other side. And then 3 is lawyers want to adopt technology, but it's often hard to set things up. And we have that's one thing that we really excel at is the platform is easy to set up, and we have a really fabulous customer team who's there, unlimited support on every tier that we have, and they're trained in the law. They're all either paralegals, former paralegals, former lawyers who really understand what our customers are working on. So that specialization of our platform is really helpful.
Very cool. Very cool. So I don't know a lot about the attorney tech industry. Tell us a little bit about some of the biggest problems that you find in your field and maybe some of the challenges that you feel like you're facing, or the industry, I should say, is facing moving forward.
Yeah. So as an industry, I would say that one of the biggest challenges is that lawyers are really maxed out, and they're still doing a lot of work that like we were talking about earlier, doesn't really require their law degree. There was a 2022 report, I think it was, that said that the average lawyer only bills about 2.6 hours a day, which is crazy because the rest of the day they are actually working. It's just eaten up by admin. And that's not just inefficient, that's just unsustainable for a lot of attorneys. And that's where we really excel at helping our customers, is just taking repeatable parts of their work and turning them into more automated workflows so they can actually scale without burning out altogether. And that's really where the future of law is going. It's not necessarily, there are some parts of it that need to be bespoke, but a lot of it doesn't need to be so bespoke. Less bespoke, more standardized, and more of a tech plus lawyer enabled delivery that actually ends up benefiting everyone, because the lawyer just spends their time more efficiently and on serving more clients.
Yeah, client-facing time more well spent. I have, like I said, family members that are attorneys and a bunch of friends that are, so I can certainly relate to the challenges that they share with me. So I totally understand that. All right, so you mentioned that a lot of like your growth has been through word of mouth. How do you collaborate with either your attorneys or maybe partners? How do you get connected with people to ultimately find your solution?
Yeah, so I was an attorney myself. So in the very, very early days, it was great because I had a good network to pull from.
Network, yep.
But now we just have such a good word of mouth. Like, our product is so easy and understandable to our customers that people are talking about us in Facebook groups. They're talking about us on Reddit. They're talking about us in the world. And I can't tell you how many of when they have to fill out this section that says lead source, they just say other attorney. So that's been really helpful. And then we provide really good service to a lot of our customers as well. So we not only provide help to them when they actually need us and then when they need the software, but we have a lot of resources that we provide. And that's been really useful. Like, we have reports and playbooks that we are publishing all the time.
Great.
That's important information for our lawyers to know. So as an example, like we specialize in automation, but even if you're thinking about automation and you're not thinking about the parts of automation that you would use with Gavel, we have basically these workbooks that you could fill out that help you determine how can I improve my practice. It's not necessarily something that would lead you to Gavel, but it's really about how do we help lawyers where they're at with the problems that they actually have, so that when they actually need us, they think of us top of mind. So that's been a really good marketing mechanism for us.
I have basically built my business on that concept, Dorna, so I can certainly relate. And education and value-added content goes a long way, especially in this day and age. There's so much information out there, but if it's highly specific and tailored to your audience, they're going to find you one way, shape, or form. So I love to hear that. All right, so now we're going to shift gears a little bit and talk a little bit about you. So the first thing I'd love to know is maybe if you could share with us a challenge that you faced during your business journey or your life in general, and how that's shaped the way that you do business today.
Yeah. So in terms of challenges, I think there are a lot, but I'll focus on sort of a global one that's maybe most relevant to some of your audience. I think the hardest part of innovation and building something new, and especially as a business owner,
Right.
is not necessarily building the technology or setting up the infrastructure. It's about the narrative that you're creating and the story that you're telling to your customer about what's possible. And for me, in a field like the law, the most effective way to do that is really by speaking that language to our customer and being able to translate that to them. Early on, I mean, I started Gavel, it's probably been like 5 years now, and it was right before the pandemic, and the mindset was just in a very different place. The lawyer mindset was in a different place. And trying to sell and implement legal technology in a profession that's really highly skeptical of change was difficult. People wanted things that were still on software that was still on premise. They didn't want in-cloud software. There were so many things that we really just had to position our North Star as a company and stick to what we believe to be true, despite some of the voices telling us other things.
Sure.
And, we would meet with lawyers early on, smart, thoughtful, really experienced professionals. And the minute we mentioned automation, they would freeze, and they feared that it would threaten their jobs or it would sacrifice quality. And so we really had to just focus on what we knew was the future of the company, what we believed about the industry, and talk to our early adopters without being wavered by the other voices that were taking us in other directions. And I think that's something that probably is universally true for business owners generally.
I can totally relate to that one. And you and I have a couple things in common. A, we started our firms right around the same time. And then B, we both served in the role that we now actually serve as customers. So, and I think that when you can kind of tell that story of, I was in your shoes and I've hopefully created a solution to help with either the challenges or the opportunities that are present in your day, in your business, or in your life, that's a really, really powerful narrative. So thank you for sharing that. So now we're going to move on to the lightning round. All right. So those that have listened to the podcast before know that I never tell our guests about the lightning round because we want it to be super organic and fun. So with this one, Dorna, all we're going to do is just ask you to share the first thing that comes to your mind. Sometimes it's going to be a one-word answer. Sometimes you can kind of go on as you see fit, but just give us the first thing that comes to your mind. You ready?
Ready.
All right, let's do it. Coffee or tea?
Tea. Matcha.
Cats or matcha. Okay, matcha. I like matcha. Cats or dogs? Okay, me too. What is one, you're in technology, so I'm interested to get your answer on this one. What is one tool or piece of technology other than your phone or your computer that you can't live without?
I mean, it's going to be cliche, but can I talk about a software tool?
Yeah, software works.
I mean, I use ChatGPT so much.
Me too. All right, you're a ChatGPT person. I am too. I am too. I love it.
You train
All
it.
right.
You train it with your own data.
Train it with your own data. I'm now into creating my own custom GPTs with a lot of our own business data, which has been super helpful and time saving for me. And I use it every day. I'm with you on that one. I would probably answer the same. Do you have a favorite quote or phrase about business or success?
That's a good one. There are a lot. Okay. Well, the one that I'll share with you is, I hope I'm going to say it correctly. So there was a guy who is at Disney World, and it was after Walt Disney had passed. And he says, it's a shame that Walt Disney wasn't here to see this. And the other guy says, he did. That's why it's here today. So really just talking to the fact that he saw the vision, even though he wasn't there to actually realize it.
That's a good one. I like that. That's a really good one. All right. Do you have a favorite book on business or entrepreneurship?
There's so many. I love so many, but I one of the ones that really comes to mind is the book by Mark Benioff, Behind the Cloud or Beyond the Cloud. And the thing that I love most about that is it gave us a lot of he did so much guerrilla marketing in the early days of Salesforce.
Sure.
And it gave us so many of the ideas that we started our company with before we really had like a brand that lawyers knew. We would go and pitch tents and like pretend to protest at conferences. And it was a really effective way for like 5 of us in a company before we had more people to actually make a big splash to really gain market share and have lawyers know what we do.
Love it. Very cool. Great stories. Do you have a favorite personal hack? Productivity, whatever it may be.
I do often use the Pomodoro method, and where you have like 20 or 25 minutes. Some people differ on what they prefer, where you just do a task, and whatever you can get done in that period of time, you do, and whatever you can't, you move on, and you can move on to the next thing in priority on your list.
I love it. What's one bucket list item that you've already accomplished?
I'm in the process of making a bucket list with my son right now for his summer. He's
How
4.
old's your son?
He's 4. He'll be 4 in a few days.
Awesome.
But already accomplished. I feel like I should have one off the top of my list. I want to say I want to go skydiving, so I haven't accomplished that.
Okay.
But traveling to many, many countries.
All right. Very good. And anyone that sticks out that's a favorite?
So when I was in college and right after, I spent a lot of time working in different countries for different internships and different reasons. But the one that I traveled to was Mauritania, which is in West Africa. And that is one that most people don't know about. So there's lots of interesting stories that we could probably talk about forever.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Very cool. What's on either business or financial milestone that you're working towards?
Business or financial milestone. One of the things that we have been working towards, and we're all about there in our company, is just when I started Gavel, we had I was doing a lot of the different tasks myself. I was doing product, I was doing sales, I was doing marketing.
I
And
get
we
it.
now have almost all of the different executive functions filled with experts in those areas
Love it.
so that I'm actually learning from my people rather than, there's all stuff that I've done before, but now I'm passing it on to the experts. So we're almost there with having all those functions filled.
Right people in the right seats. It's a good place to be. I love it. What is one piece of advice that you would give to your younger self?
I've gotten this question a lot, and what I actually end up coming back to is nothing. Because I think that a lot of the mistakes that I made when I was younger and the things that I didn't know are actually a lot of what shaped me and made me who I am today.
Sure.
And so I would
Sure.
actually, and I'm very happy with the trajectory that things have gone. Obviously, there are things that have gone easier, that could have gone easier if I had more advice, but I think that would have made me a different person. When asked this question, I usually just say nothing.
Yeah, the life experiences shape you in a really unique way. I couldn't agree more on that. All right. And then lastly, if our listeners want to connect with you, collaborate, potentially work with Gavel, what's the best way to reach you?
Yes. So my name is Dorna Moini. I have on all the socials, you can find me at Dorna_AT@_Gavel. So Dorna at Gavel on all the socials. And then you can also email me at dorna@gavel.com.
Very cool. We'll put those in the show notes as well. So, Dorna, thank you so much for sharing your time and your insights with us today. I really enjoyed the discussion, though. So, thanks for joining us.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me, Dan.
You bet. You bet. So, that's it for this episode. Keep your strategy sharp, your goals clear, and your money working as hard as you do. Thanks again to Dorna for joining us. And that's a wrap.
Wonderful.